to start by sorting and washing my fruit. You don't want any spoiled or overripe berries in there, as it can increase the risk of foodborne illness and microorganism growth, because the acidity of fruit decreases as it becomes too ripe. We are going to boil those berries so we can get the juice we need. Turn that stovetop on high and cover with a lid. And then we're going to let the cat into the garage, otherwise he's going to scream the entirety of the time we're in the kitchen. While we're waiting for those berries to boil, we are going to measure out our sugar and use just enough to make a person diabetic, which is about 7.5 cups to be more specific.
Next thing I do here is start some of the sterilization process, which really just consists of using boiling water and dumping it on everything. Once our berries have boiled for a few minutes, we want to pour them into our cheesecloth and let them cool a bit before we squeeze the rest of the juices out, otherwise you're likely to burn your hands. You might be able to tell by looking at some of my equipment that it's a bit ancient, as has been passed down from generations, like my oval water bath canner, which is unfortunately no longer in production. You might be able to find it at Goodwill, but you can find all of the necessary items at a Runnings or a Fleet Farm if you look hard enough. As you can see here, there was a lot of juice that came out of those berries. Thankfully, we have quite a few jars, and when canning, as a general rule of thumb, you should probably always assume a recipe will make double the quantity it's suggested. I'm not sure why this ends up happening, but it does. With that large pot of boiling water, we're going to dump it in the sink to sterilize our jars. Another method to sterilize is running the jars through a dishwasher cycle without any soap or detergent, but I prefer doing it this way. Now we're going to dump our juice into the pot to bring to a boil, and I'm generally not allowed to handle liquids because of this lovely clip of me spilling several cups of Everclear onto myself while making peach cobbler. A very important thing to note when adding our Sure-Jell into the boiling juice is that this absolutely has to be added before the sugar, otherwise it will not dissolve properly, and you'll end up with a whole batch of syrup instead of jelly, which might not be a bad thing, but we definitely didn't want more syrup than what we already had. Once the sugar is added and dissolved and it has boiled for a few minutes, we want to start skimming that foam off the top to ensure a nice clear jelly. After this, we can start filling our jars. It's extremely important while filling jars that we leave some headspace. That way the jars can properly seal and be stored safely for longer periods of time.
Earlier I talked a little bit about the acidity of fruit and how it needs to be a certain level for canning to work properly. The pH value should generally be 4.6 is kind of your max, what you want. Anything above 4.6 probably isn't meant for water bath canning. Generally your vegetables and your stews are what you should use a pressure canner for, but any kind of fruits or pickling is perfectly fine for water bath canning.
Once our jars are full, we want to take a paper towel and wipe off the rims there. That way we can get a nice good seal on those lids. For me personally, I like to use the method of water bath canning. I find pressure canning particularly terrifying, but that's another way you could choose to do things. I just think water bath canning is the easiest of the different methods.